Hello Facebook, hello YouTube, what's up everybody? This is Ruben and I'm back with another Ruben Report. Today I'm going to be continuing to put miles on the bike. It's Saturday, midday, just like I was saying that I promised that I was going to be doing. But before I go, I'm going to be doing some general maintenance, just cleaning the chain, and I also wanted to recheck the bolts that I have on my new top box. I was noticing just a little bit of rattling. It seems very sturdy. It could have just been the box itself, but you never know with these Chinese fasteners. So I'm gonna be getting out my blue Loctite, putting some Loctite on there just to be sure that things don't vibrate. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and get to cleaning this chain, and then we will deal with that before we head on out today. So to start things off, I went ahead and put some of this stuff in the gas tank as well. We're gonna be doing an MPG test at the end of all this. Maybe even on Sunday I'll calculate the MPG. I want to get as many miles as I can out of a tank and see how it does over the long run. And after I'm done with this, we're gonna get to clean that chain. Alright, so when it comes to cleaning the chain, it's my per usual. I'm using a soapy water and a little brush and getting all this grime off of the chain one little section at a time. Okay, so done. Spin the wheel to move in a certain direction. Okay, and then we just continue cleaning. And once we're done cleaning most of this stuff, we get some paper towels and wipe off the excess before we put our wax coat on, or the chain cleaner stuff on. So now we're done with the brush. We just go ahead and wipe off all the loose excess grime with paper towels. Okay, and you just keep going around until everything is pretty spotless. When you guys are cleaning the chain, make sure you get the back side of the chain as well. It has a lot of debris on the back, but once it's pretty clean, all right. So I use my thumb here since it's cheap, spotless. Now you can put your chain greaser thing on there, whichever cleaner that you, or whichever wax or lube that you choose. It's really up to people's preference. I'm gonna show you the one that I use. Well, so this stuff is the greaser that I use. Okay, I bought it from Walmart. Pretty simple. It's for motorcycle stuff. Okay, and this is water resistant, and it lubes the chain. Alright, so putting the lube on there is pretty much the same thing as cleaning it. You just, at least for me, I go one section at a time. Spray, turn the wheel, and then spray, and then turn the wheel. Okay, and then spray. Alright, just keep on doing that until you get the whole chain. And then once that's done, I pretty much just let it sit while I do something else. So I usually clean the chain with, checking the oil, or, maybe even checking the tire pressure. But today I'm going to let this sit while I work on the back plate. I'll show you guys the tire pressures that I have. I have an app on my phone that is tied to these Bluetooth tire pressure sensors. Okay, I have Bluetooth paired tire pressure sensors, and so they monitor the tire pressure for me at all times. And so I'll just give you guys a little screenshot of what that looks like. Alright, so now that the whole chain is covered, we're just going to let it sit in, soak in, while we work on the back plate, and then once we're done with the back plate, we're going to wipe all the excess off. Alright, the plate is off. Here goes the blue Loctite. We're going to put some Loctite in all the different bolts, and then we're going to put everything back together. Alright, everything's put back together. Chain, the excess has been wiped off. We're ready for the ride. Short thing about my chain, for those who don't know, I actually replaced my chain with a Japanese chain not too long ago. So I think it was about maybe 500 or 600 miles ago. So it was pretty much due for a cleaning. Yeah, so this, I would recommend, if you still have the stock chain on your bike, you can still do the maintenance on it, but it pretty much seems like the stock chains, they're kind of programmed to go out in between 15 to 2,000 miles. It's not going to fly off. It's just they start to stretch excessively. You know, they're very cheap chains. So I would suggest you go ahead and keep your stock chain. If you have the stock chain on your bike, ride it for 1,500, 2,000 miles in between there. Go ahead and do the maintenance on it. Personally, I kind of, looking back, it's like, what was the point? Because, you know, you clean it and you do all the grease on it, and it still is gonna stretch regardless. So maybe you want to save money with your cleaning products on the you know, stock chain, because it's going to stretch out anyway. You're just going to replace it anyway. So yeah, 1,500 to 2,000 miles. Get yourself a good Japanese chain like mine, and then you shouldn't have any issues. I haven't had to adjust this chain since I put it on. So, and yeah, here we are riding off. Once again, I went ahead and sped up these clips of me riding, just so this video doesn't have to be unnecessarily long. It's already almost 30 minutes now. Didn't take me too long to get to the back roads. I did not go the route that I usually take to commute to work. I went to the more residential back roads. So these are going to be back roads with you know, farmland property, where folks actually live. Those types of streets, there's hardly anybody driving on those type of streets at this particular point in time of day. Probably the same thing during the week, but you know, getting all the way over there and trying to come back after work, it's definitely not going to have enough. I'm not going to have enough time to be able to ride around for a decent amount of time to be able to put enough miles on the bike during the week, because it's also not necessarily to say that this is that much of an issue, but riding out there at nighttime when things start to get dark, there's no street lights either. I do have auxiliary lights on my bike, and I do have an upgraded LED headlight, so that's not much of an issue. But I would like to, if I'm going to be out there, I would like to be out there broad daylight, middle of the day, barely anybody riding around out there, because riding out there, even though it's on the residential roads where there's hardly any people and I can ride a lot slower, I still want to be courteous and cautious and aware of other drivers, because I can ride 40 miles an hour, but people still want to go like 50 to 60 for some reason. So yeah, I was just back there riding and using, once I actually get there, you'll see me using my hazards to pretty much signal to anybody who may come up behind me, so that way it lets them know, like, hey, I'm going slow, just go ahead and pass me. But on the way there, I actually was riding aimlessly. I didn't know exactly where it is that I wanted to go, so I didn't have a specific destination in mind. I just was riding in the general direction that I knew that back roads were, but I didn't have anything routed on my GPS, if that makes sense. I was actually looking at my camera on my phone versus using the GPS app. So I actually, not intentionally, took a turn, and it ended up being the on-ramp onto the freeway. No big deal. I just stayed in the right shoulder, going the speed that I'm restricted to, below 5,000 RPM, got off on the next exit, and I was right where I needed to be in the beginning of some type of residential back road, which we'll see here shortly. All right, so we made it to some of the residential back roads. You guys can see a lot of these places that have horses and all kinds of livestock. So I'm just gonna keep on riding on these roads. There's hardly literally anybody out here, so this is kind of the ideal place to be for breaking the engine in. I have my, just like before, have my hazards on. If folks want to pass me, they can pass me. I mean, there's ample space to do so. And yeah, so I'm going to stay out here for, well, as long as I can, try to rack up as many miles as possible. We are at 37.6 miles so far. So we put about 10 miles on the bike since yesterday's mileage. So we'll be out here for a while, and we'll see. Y'all just continue to document the footage with my GoPro camera, and then we'll just see how far we go. So as you guys can see here, me riding off, you will see me use the hazards. You'll see me riding the bike at various different speeds, using different gears. I stayed generally in between 4th and 5th gear when I was just riding along. Didn't want to keep the speed at one particular RPM or one particular speed for too long. Kept everything all switched up quite a bit. And anytime that there was somebody who was coming up behind me, they saw the hazards on, they went ahead and passed. No issues. It was quite peaceful. I was pretty much to myself all the most of the time, and I just rode along. I think here and there I passed quite a few like cows and lambs and horses and things of that nature. I think I'm maybe every once in a while pulled my head up so you guys can see it, but I kind of wanted to keep the camera, in all honesty, I wanted to keep the camera focused on the actual RPM gauge and my speeds, because I really want this to be on record that I've done the break-in process the way that it should be done. And the reason why I wanted this to be on record is because after all this is done,
You know, I plan to ride the bike, you know, the way that I have, like I described in my expectations video. I don't want there to be any excuses. So the bike, all the maintenance is going to be documented. The whole braking process is documented. The braking process is going to be done the correct way. We've done it, riding it for 500 miles, and going to be doing the valve adjustment. Right after that, it's game on. So we'll find out whether or not this bike is actually going to stand up to the expectations that I have for it. But at the end of this video, with certain results that I found, I might change my expectations just a little bit. I'm still going to use it to commute to work, but I might want to experiment with some certain things, and you guys will see about that later with the results that we found. But anyway, that's the reason why it is that I'm really trying to focus on putting the camera on the RPM gauge, on the tachometer. I want all this stuff to be documented, recorded, so that way it's pretty much just out there on the internet. The bike is broken in properly. Everything was done according to the manual, and we'll see what the real performance is supposed to be when the maintenance is properly taken care of. That's pretty much it. It's going to be the ultimate endurance test for this bike. Okay? It's one thing to ride the bike, or any motorcycle, really. It's one thing to ride any motorcycle for, 3,000 to 4,000 miles a year, very occasionally, maybe just on the weekends, versus riding it every single day and pretty much using it to be a substitute for your car. So using a motorcycle to be your main transportation, especially when it comes to this motorcycle, where a lot of folks have quite a few doubts about Chinese bikes. I mean, if this thing succeeds, this will basically solidify the validity, like how valid Chinese bikes are and can be as a solid choice for a commuter bike. So that's why I'm doing what it is that I'm doing. I really want it to work. I really do like my bike. But yeah, this is the ultimate endurance test, and this is going to be all the recorded, documented proof that things were done correctly.
Alright, I made a little stop here in the sand. We made it to 50 on the dot, 10% of the way through. For some reason my mirror won't stay put, so I'm going to try to get this all sorted out, hopefully. I don't know. But yeah, other than that, I'm just taking a little break for getting some water, and then I'll get back to it. Alright, I just found one downside to removing the backrest, the back seat, is that the top box is in the way when trying to remove it. So, I mean, it's still good that the box is a quick release box, so that way, you can at least remove the box out of the way when you want to get the seat off, but it's kind of inconvenient. What I'm trying to do, I'm trying to get to the tool kit in there, so that way I can maybe tighten the mirror down. I hope that the tool kit that comes with the bike has a wrench that's big enough to do that. Oh, one last thing, I forgot to put my GPS on, so I went ahead and did put the GPS app on, set it to the same mileage that we have right now, which is 50. So I'm going to put up a screenshot of that right now, And then once everything's over, we'll see if the GPS lines up with the app, because to be honest with you, I don't know necessarily if I'm going to have enough battery life with my GoPro camera to document everything, but at least the GPS app will capture my top speed, and it will also capture the mileage that I've done for the day. Alright, so the stock toolkit does not come with a wrench that's big enough to take this down, so that's something I'm going to have to add later on. It comes with a 10mm and an 8mm, which is what you really need, because most of the bolts that are on here are 8mm anyway. And then it comes with some Allen keys and a spark plug wrench and, things of that nature. Phillips and flathead screwdriver. So I think what would be very useful and helpful, if you're gonna have your little tool bag here, make sure you bring a 13mm wrench as well, because that's going to be needed for tightening the adjusters on your chain, and probably is what's needed for the mirror as well. I'll probably find that out when I get back home. Alright, now my camera's having issues. It doesn't record. It wants to keep on saying that there's no SD card in there, but there is an SD card in there. It even shows I have an hour and 53 minutes worth of space left. It just won't record. So pretty much what that is, I'm just gonna put miles on the bike and try to figure out that issue later. We'll have the GPS show how fast I was going, how far I went. That's pretty much it. And then we'll talk later when I get home. Alright, what's up guys? I'll stop for another little break to get some water and eat some snacks. It's about 1 hour after that last clip. Still here on some back roads. Look at all those cows. I wish my GoPro camera was working so I could give you guys a little bit more of like a scenic view of what I've got going on here. I've pretty much just been riding literally aimlessly through all these different back roads. No GPS, nothing. I just, let's turn here, let's turn there. Somehow I ended up near this pond or reservoir of water. It's really quiet out here. It's peaceful. Hardly anybody. I'm just pretty much taking it slow and enjoying life, Didn't ever really realize how relaxing it can be just cruising around at 40 miles an hour, 30 miles an hour, But, before I forget, let's see. Let's close this up. And let me show you how many miles we're at now. I think it was like 80. Yeah, 81.3. So I'm gonna keep on going, and I might stop again. I might just go home. We'll see how many miles I'll have at the end of all this. Alright guys, I'll stop one more time. This is gonna be my last one before I go back home. But we did it. We made it to 100 miles. Our first 100 miles down. Great. One other thing I want to note, which I'm actually quite excited about, and I am very curious about our results. For the past, I think it was like 3 miles ago. So 3 miles ago, I still had a full 4 bars. So pretty much that meant that my tank still showed that it was full for over 70 miles. So I'm very curious to see what our MPG performance is going to be like from this run. So I'm going to go ahead and make my way back home, stop by a gas station, and then we'll figure that out. All right, you guys, I am finally home. It was a long over 3.5 hours of riding that we've done today. It was a hot one out today as well, so I'm glad to finally be home, be able to get some air conditioning, but it was a very relaxing day as well. We have some interesting results from the ride. Just for reference, we started at 27 miles, and we will see here how far we have gone. So 113.4. So in total, we have ridden today an 86.4 miles. So, now for the big results, very astonishing results, the MPG results. Well, when I filled up yesterday, I filled up at the gas station, and I will show you a picture of the tripometer once I filled up at the gas station. So I'll put that up right now. And I'm also now gonna put up the tripometer of me reaching the gas station on my way back today, also with the amount of gallons used right now. So if you have done the math correctly, you would have calculated that we have gotten an astonishing 66.87 miles to the gallon. That's higher than the advertised MPG performance that the bike shows on the website. I mean, that's insane. And I mean, you guys know, I am not a small guy. I'm a big guy on this little bike, all right? .6'5", a little over 300 pounds. Bruh. Well, here's my thoughts when it comes to this. You see, beforehand, when I did the break-in process, when it came to this motorcycle, the very first time around, everything was still stock. I still had the stock chain, I still had the stock spark plug, I also even still had the stock gearing. And being a big guy with the stock gearing being geared so high, obviously I had to rev the bike. Well, not only rev the bike higher, but I also had to apply a lot more of my throttle hand in order to ride at the speeds that I was restricted to. So with doing that, the type of MPG that I was getting with the stock form and back then was about 55 MPG. Okay, wasn't terrible, but you know, that's just what I got back then. But now, not only am I doing the break-in process all over again, where I'm riding at much slower speeds, but because I have much lower gearing on my bike, in conjunction with using a better spark plug, the lower gearing on the bike allows me to use a lot less of my throttle hand. And it's even less because I'm riding so slow. When I was riding, I don't know if you guys are paying attention, but I kid you not, this is how much I had to twist the throttle. Like that. Barely anything. Barely anything. I barely twist the throttle in order to go the speeds that I am restricted to at the moment because of me doing the braking process. I can't go past 5,000 RPM. So the lower gearing allows me to not only ride it at lower RPMs, or really the braking process, I'm riding at much lower RPMs, but the lower gearing also allows me to use a lot less throttle. So this is why we've gotten the MPG that we got, better than stock. All right, I know there's a lot of you guys out there that say, hey, gear the bike higher, you know, the RPMs will be lower, you'll get better gas mileage. In part, it's true. I mean, yes, in theory you are at lower RPMs, but depending on your weight and the load that you have on the bike, if you have to use a lot more throttle in order to maintain those RPMs, the RPMs don't matter if you're gonna be at half throttle to go that speed. Make sense? So, in my opinion, pay more attention to your throttle hand. If you're really going for fuel efficiency with this motorcycle, I really encourage you to ensure that you gear it in such a way and modify it in such a way where your throttle hand, all right, where you barely have to give throttle in order to go. That's going to give you the best results. Especially if you're riding this bike in such a way where, you know, you're riding it pretty much like I've been riding it all day, right? If you don't go very fast, if you're going maybe 50 miles an hour tops, maybe you're going 45 miles an hour tops. I mean, the type of mileage that I was going today and how fast I was going today, it was actually pretty peaceful. It was actually really slow. And so I'm actually starting to change my mind about this bike a little bit. I mean, maybe it is a lot better to go slow and to ride slow with this thing. I honestly don't think, especially with the performance that I was getting today, I really don't think that this motor has any issues whatsoever going 4,000 to 5,000 RPMs or even below 5,000 RPMs. It's bulletproof when it comes to that. The big question is, can it actually do my commute route? But maybe I gotta find a different route to go. Like if I'm getting 67 miles to the gallon, it's not that big of a difference from my previous 59 miles to the gallon, but still, maybe it might be a little bit better if I could find a slower route to go to work. Possibly. Who knows? But anyway, that's the whole performance that we got today. Man, almost 67 mpg. That's crazy. All right, stay safe out there, guys, and peace. Oh yeah, guys, one last thing that I forgot. I went ahead and fixed my mirror so it's sturdy. I do not know what size wrench you need. I actually use this guy, an adjustable one, and I think something like this will be very practical for your tool set as well, because you're gonna have a bunch of random size nuts and stuff that you have to twist on the bike. So I think something that's adjustable would be a better solution. Although the 8 and 10 millimeter is great, having something like this in there for everything else is pretty practical.
You guys see these current gas prices? I want to make it my mission for tomorrow to discover a slow route to ride to work. One that would being able to ride my bike to work on the slow route to keep the bike within its braking process speeds and be able to stay at 5,000 RPM or below. That will, one, allow me to put a lot more miles on the bike a lot quicker, but two, it would also allow me to save a lot more money on gas, because if I'm currently still needing to ride back and forth from work using my pickup truck, and I really don't want to have to spend over $100 to get through the week. So with these gas prices steadily increasing, this is even higher than what it was last week. It's made it even more apparent and even more important for me to go ahead and get through this break-in process, so that way I can get back to getting on my bike, so it can start fulfilling the purpose of what I bought it for.